Welcome in to the JMU Sports News Podcast. I'm Bennett, Conlin, joined by Jack Fitzpatrick, and this is our Louisville preview.
Louisville. We just talked with Mike Rutherford about how to properly pronounce it, and you already messed it up, man. That's one. We'll keep it tally. It does take mental focus to go Louisville.
Do you remember when I had that Appalachian State issue for a while?
Yeah, you said Appalachian, right?
Yeah, it was a problem until I really got that latch through my head.
Latch. Then you could just call it app. You can just say
that's what I was doing app for a while. I'm into it now. I'm fully indoctrinated into the Sun Belt. I want the Dukes out. I want the Dukes in a P4, but I'm fully in on the Sun Belt right now.
Right now. Right here, right now. I'm fully in. Right here, right now. Before we get moving too far ahead, if you feel so inclined, we'd love it if you bought us a coffee. Buymeacoffee.com/JMU Sports News. We appreciate every little coffee that is bought for us. It goes a long way in supporting what we're doing. All of our content is free, so any type of support is greatly appreciated at buymeacoffee.com/JMU Sports News. And with that, we're going to take a quick ad break and be back with our first ever preview pod of the 2025 season.
Love what we do here at JMU Sports News? Help fuel the show. For the price of a coffee, you can support us directly at buymeacoffee.com/JMU Sports News. Every quote-unquote cup helps us bring you more Dukes coverage, interviews, and insight. So if you enjoy the show, consider buying us a coffee today. Thank you so much. Buymeacoffee.com/JMU Sports News. We appreciate each and every one of them and all of your support. Thank you. Enjoy the show. Are you looking for deeper insight into JMU football? Check out To the House, part of the JMU Sports News Network. Brand new look, brand new sound this season. Hosted by former JMU quarterback Vad Lee and JMU Hall of Famer Delvin Joyce. They'll take you inside the huddle every week with game recaps, previews, and player perspective you won't find anywhere else. Subscribe today to the JMU Sports News Podcast Network and stay game day ready with To the House. Want to rep the Dukes in the best vintage gear out there? Home Field Apparel has you covered with premium JMU designs you won't find in the bookstore. Whether it's tailgates, watch parties, or just everyday flexing your purple and gold pride, Home Field is the way to go. Use the link in our episode description to grab your JMU swag today. Our link down in the episode description. Get your JMU swag today.
All right, welcome back in. Preview pod. Brand new idea, right? We've never done this before. We're now dropping 2 pods a week. We'll see how long we keep up with this. We might just go back to doing one big one. No, we're going to try and keep up with this. And instead of doing one large podcast in the middle of every week, we'll drop our review podcast, our recap podcast at the beginning of weeks, and we'll drop our preview podcast Thursday or Friday, a little later on in the week, and we'll try to incorporate guests each and every week that give us a preview of what to expect out of the opponent. This week, it's Mike Rutherford from the Mike Rutherford Show and the manager of Card Chronicle, cardchronicle.com, and at Card Chronicle on Twitter. Fantastic insights. He's coming up in a little bit, but first we want to give you the overview on Louisville and the dangerous Isaac Brown.
Yeah, their offense is scary. Isaac Brown, I mean, there's a legitimate case he's best running back in the country. If he's not the best, he's like for sure in the top 10.
Back-to-back years facing off against a top 2 running back in the country. Cool.
He's lightning quick. So Marion Hampton was more of like a complete back, a little bruiser, but also good speed. He had it all. Isaac Brown is just lightning fast. And he can break tackles too, but he's like a little bit more slender. And I don't know, man. It's tough. Like once he gets past your linebackers, if he does, it's kind of lights out, game over.
So Isaac Brown currently ranked 2nd in the nation in PFF. Granted, it's only been one game, but he has a rushing grade.
Particularly bad at tackling.
Yes, very bad at tackling, but he still has a 94.4 rushing grade in 2025. So the dude is a monster. He was ACC Rookie of the Year, ACC Offensive Rookie of the Year, and is very scary, keeping me up at night because he is so good.
6 carries, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. That was his stat line against Eastern Kentucky. So really didn't even get going. Like they barely gave him the football, and he went over 100 and scored twice.
Casually, casually,
They
casually.
did they did not, I want to make this point. They did not play a lot of their starters in the second half of the Eastern Kentucky game. I think they were up 41-7 or something like that at halftime and pulled a lot of their guys, including Miller Moss, who we talked to Mike Rutherford about this, but he threw 2 interceptions in that game. The second interception was maybe my favorite throw of his of the day. Like deep ball perfectly hits a guy and it like weirdly bounces up and is an interception. So Miller Moss, USC transfer, he's a good quarterback. They have Colin Lacey, former South Alabama guy at receiver. Their skill guys are pretty unbelievable.
He did mention that Miller Moss, the hope for Louisville fans, is that he'll be a little bit in between Jack Plummer and Tyler Shuck. Call me crazy. I think Miller Moss has the capability to be better than Tyler Shuck.
Yeah,
Like
I think so too.
Miller Moss is like very good, which scares me so much about this offense because they have so many. I mean, Miller Moss is really good. Isaac Brown is elite. Colin Lacey is very good. They have another wide receiver who went off in that game. Like they've got a lot of talent on the offensive side where it feels like JMU will have to score a touchdown on like 4 of their first 6 possessions to even still be in this game.
I think Louisville's floor, I would say, is probably 7-5, and I think their ceiling is a playoff berth. Like
Yeah.
they're really good. They play some tough teams this year, but they also have a bunch of winnable games. They play Clemson on a Friday night in November, so that'll be an interesting like comparison point, I guess, to see how Clemson handles a Friday night game there as well. But they have a lot of really winnable games. They play at Miami and at SMU, which will be tough, but they're going to win a lot of games this year because their offense is so talented. And I guess the questions are maybe defensively, but even then, I like some of their defensive pieces. This is the best team JMU's played in a long time.
But this is also why it's such an important game. And I won't go so far as to say must win,
Must win,
but
exactly.
like don't put it in the headlines that I say must win. Um, but it is a very nice to have win, would be go a long way because of what you just said, Bennett. Like this is a team that ceiling is college football playoff. So
Yeah.
if you get this win, they are probably going to be finishing the year with anywhere between 7 to 9 wins, and that is going to look very freaking good on your resume. And they boast this guy on the defensive side. Their defense is a question mark. Their secondary is a big question mark. But like, I don't know if they'll even get to test the secondary because
Hmm.
Lubin, the Coastal Carolina transfer, he had himself a game, 2 sacks, which is 2 more than JMU's entire team had against Weber State. Like the way that he's able to play and get off the edge, like he is going to give McMurtry and or Joseph Simmons fits at the tackle position.
Yeah, they have a lot of talent defensively. I know they're trying to figure out like how it might all piece together, but Lubin was pretty unbelievable at Coastal Carolina last year at a 90 PFF grade, and he kind of kept that going. They've got talent on the edges. They got some linebackers that are good. I think there's some pieces in the secondary that are decent. Like it's a very complete, good football team. I think the stuff you maybe point to is I think there were over 10 penalties against Eastern Kentucky, so maybe there's still some early season sloppiness from that perspective. Miller
Sloppy,
Moss,
sloppy, 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 sloppy.
right? Miller Moss at times has struggled when he's under pressure. So if you pressure him, maybe you could force him into some miscues.
3 turnovers.
Yeah, they were a little sloppy with some turnovers and mistakes there. Some of that was like bad breaks, but some of that was them not playing their best. So they're good. I think they're going to win a bunch of games, but it's also one. And we had a comment from a listener question. I think it was that like Rom troll account or burner account. And he was like, I'm nervous for this game. Like, how do I handle the nerves? Could have been a fake question. But if it's a real question, I think this is one where if you're JMU, like either you are a playoff caliber G5 team or you're not. Like if you get blown out here, then like honestly, man, maybe you just focus on the Sun Belt title, and if something happens and
Yeah.
you click over the year. But like if you think you are that good, then you got to show it on the road against a team like this that is not they're not a top 5 team in the country, I don't think, but they are like a top 15, top 20.
And it's a team that probably late in the season, depending on how that Clemson game on Friday night goes, like could be in the conversation to win the ACC. So like
Absolutely.
if you can give them a game, then that's going to look really good for you. And that will it's a
Yeah.
great barometer. It is a
Yeah.
fantastic barometer because they have the best player in this game in Isaac Brown.
Mhm.
They have probably the quarterback edge.
Hmm.
They have, I'll give, this might be me talking with some purple glasses. Chesney in non-conference, he's undefeated. Maybe JMU has the coaching edge. But like
Brom's pretty
even
darn good.
then,
It's a good
Brom's
coaching
pretty darn
matchup,
good.
though.
Like it's going to be a great coaching matchup. And I think this game will come down to the trick plays that Chesney calls.
It's going to
Are
be,
they
yeah.
effective? Like, are you able to steal a possession? Are you going to open the game with an onside kick?
There's probably an onside kick mixed
Like,
in, right?
are you going to do something crazy and try to like steal a possession and get an extra possession? So, you could score 14 points without Louisville ever touching the field. Like, that is how you're going to win this game. It's how do you execute the trick plays and are you able to execute them effectively? I think that's where the difference is going to be.
And then what can you get out of the Sluka package? I think is going to be really interesting because like
What
he
can
can
your
throw a
defensive
great
line do?
right. Sluka can throw a great deep ball. He can run a bit. You can do some stuff with that. Barnett can throw a great deep ball. Can you hit chunk plays? Can you stop explosive plays, which is so hard to do against this Louisville team? They're one of the best, I think, in the country and will be in the ACC in generating explosives offensively. So it's going to be a great test, but it's also one where, like, again, if you think you are like a top 25 caliber team, if you think you are a playoff caliber team, you can't be scared of this. And that's what Chesney was saying in his news conferences was like, attack, attack, attack. That's our mindset. Like we're not scared of this. We're going to try to go in with an attack mindset. That's what they should do. They should go in thinking, hey, there's a path to winning this game, and if they kind of execute, a decent chunk of that, you hope you at least hang in the game, which would probably look good at the end of the year. So I don't know if I guess it's winnable, but I mean, it's a hard one to win.
I think it's definitely winnable, but it's just going to be a huge, huge, huge test.
Yeah, they do a lot of
I,
things that'll test you. I am excited about JMU's offense, though. I think they can find some weaknesses there.
I said that to Mike Rutherford. Like, I think this game, if JMU's offense can find a rhythm and kind of start scoring and doing well like that, like, I have high hopes for him. Like, it's the defense I really do have questions on. Not really generating any type of push up the field to generate TFLs and generate sacks. That is going to be tough to play against Isaac Brown. If you're not like impacting his line in the
Yeah.
backfield, then he's going to have a pretty good time. And if you're not impacting Miller Moss, he's probably not going to throw an interception. Like the interceptions come when you force Miller Moss out of the pocket and you force him to try and make more with nothing. That's when he ends up throwing the turnovers. Can JMU's defensive line take a pretty big step forward? The cliche that coaches always say is the biggest improvement you see from a team is between week 1 and week 2. I think for JMU's defensive line, they really need to see that.
Yeah, I think the other part that concerns me just a tad is they have the ACC wins over UNC in 2024, UVA in 2023. This Louisville team's a good chunk above that. They gave up almost 400 yards to UVA. If you recall, they gave up a lot of chunk plays in that game. And UNC scored 50 points. Like, I know JMU won by 20, but they scored 50. They had over 600 yards of total offense. Some of that, I think JMU was like toward the end, they're letting some garbage time kind of yards up and things like that. But I am a little bit concerned because they haven't exactly won these ACC games in recent years with like a dominant defensive performance. They've actually left those games with significant questions about the defense, and that is where I have my most concerns. It's like if the defensive line isn't getting a lot of pressure, can you really hang with these receivers and this running back and this quarterback who throws an insanely accurate ball for 60 minutes? I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is going to be a major test. Now, if JMU wins it, I think they're capable of winning it. I think things have to go certainly right for them to
Yeah.
win it. But if JMU wins it, brother, I will be so hype it won't even be funny.
I'm also just excited for them to have a chance because I do think there's like obviously like the knowledgeable Louisville fans are not
Louisville.
Louisville are not
Louisville.
overlooking this game, but there's going to be a section of
Yeah,
fans
Louisville.
for the Cardinals who are essentially penciling them in as 3-0 in those first three non-conference games and probably giving them wins over Pitt and Virginia, and they're really looking at 5-0, and then you're facing Miami in mid-October for a Friday night game on the road. Like I've guaranteed there's some fans that think that. So for JMU, this is a chip on the shoulder game where it's like, hey, can we make a statement. And I think that's where I like Chesney a lot. Like I love Chesney as an underdog.
That's very true. Because when it's underdog, all bets are off, and this dude's going to do some crazy, like 2-point conversion, direct snap to the
Yeah,
holder, direct snap to the kicker, like just crazy
sure.
stuff. Here's my last question for you about this game. You win the toss. Do you receive or do you defer?
I like to defer. I like the ball in the second half.
See, I would receive because I think if
You
you
don't
can
want to take
go
that
down the
7-0
field,
deficit. Yeah.
you don't want to take the 7-0 deficit. And if you can go down and score first, then you kind of take a little bit of air out of the stadium.
I like that
That's my
too. I
thought
like
process.
that too. That's going to be an interesting one to see who gets ball first
Yeah.
and how the game flow starts. I will say though, I think JMU's got a lot of offensive weapons. They do have some good defensive weapons too. I want to see also Colin Hischler. Um, he's been a defensive coordinator before, co-DC. It sounded like from the way Chesney was describing like first game as coordinator and some of his stuff, it might have been the first time he was like really the primary play caller for a defense.
Oh,
Based on his roles, or at least I guess it's the only time he hasn't been like a co-DC. So he's kind of got it all on his plate.
on his
What's that
plate.
look like, man? What are they doing with like dialing up
Hey,
pressures and trying because this is a great offense.
we didn't talk about it in the recap pod, but they're running like a 3-3-5. Some interesting
Yeah,
looks. Like it's different than what Lyle Hemphill was running last year as the defensive
yeah.
coordinator. So
They're
I'm
gonna have
very
some
intrigued to
looks.
see what the looks are. Are they going to bring, more safeties into the game? Are they going to run like some unique types of sets? We haven't seen a 3-3-5 in quite some time, but uh and then the other times they were running a 4-4-2-5 or just like really utilizing a ton of different personnels. So I'm very intrigued to see what he brings out of his bag for this game because maybe some sim pressure. Maybe we show something one way, we do something else. Maybe we show cover 4 and flip to a cover 2. Like could do a lot of things. And I have faith in Hitchler. I like Hitchler a lot.
I like it, man. I think it's gonna be an entertaining game. If they can hang in, it shows a lot about the team. Even if they don't, though, they still got a lot of winnable games after. But this is the biggest opportunity of the year, biggest test of the year.
Yeah.
This is what you look forward to, man. You got AB3, you got Sluka, you got a bunch of running backs, got new receivers. Gotta make it happen.
All right, we're gonna go talk to Mike Rutherford now. Chat with him, get the inside look on what to expect from Louisville this game.
We now welcome on Mike Rutherford, who's the manager of CardChronicle.com and the host of the Mike Rutherford Show. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me.
So let's jump into the most important question first. How does one say Louisville properly?
It's you've got to do it with it's like you're trying to say Louisville, but you've got a bunch of marbles in your mouth. So it's Louisville. Louisville. There's no Louis. We don't recognize the French in Kentucky for whatever reason. There's a what should be pronounced Versailles, Kentucky, but we call it's Versailles. So Louisville's not alone in just fully not recognizing our French roots, I guess, and just refusing to use their pronunciation. But yeah, it's Louisville is correct.
Okay.
Thank God this game's not being played in Versailles. That's an abomination.
I think there are a couple more too, but they've ruined my. I actually have a friend from Versailles, and it's so funny. She was like, it took me until I was like 20 to realize that we weren't pronouncing it the way that we're supposed to, but it's not changing anytime soon.
I love that. That's awesome. Okay, so football questions. JMU fans, I think there's an understanding that this is the hardest game on the schedule for the Dukes. But from your perspective, following the Cardinals and watching them closely, what's sort of the fan base perception over there of your own team? It seems like one that, from my view, could be a college football playoff contender. Brahm seems like he's a quarterback whisperer guru at times and has a good one this year. How do you feel, and how does the fan base feel about what Louisville has this year?
I think they're pretty evenly spread out. I think there are some people that genuinely believe that this is, it's year 3 for Jeff Brom. He wins 10 games in year 1, wins 9 games last year. There's a handful of fans who are like, the expectation should be compete for one of those playoff spots, be right there in the mix in the ACC. And then I think there's another element of the fan base that's sort of like, 8-9 wins with this roster is probably good enough. If they go 7-5, it's not a terrible season. And I think that those two factions are kind of feuding. I think it's funny. It's sort of those two factions, I think, are the same ones that are sort of feuding about this game on Friday night. You've got some fans that are saying, like me, why would you schedule this game? If you're going to schedule a group of 5 opponent, schedule someone bad. The perception nationally, if you beat James Madison, who I think is a very good team, by 3 touchdowns, everyone's just kind of like, you're supposed to do that. Whereas, if you lose to James Madison or the game is close, you get dinged. It's like for a lot of people, they would have the same reaction if they'd lost to Eastern Kentucky last week. So the risk reward to me is not nearly on a level playing field when it comes to this game. And then you've got another portion of the fan base that says, look, if we're serious about competing in the ACC, if we're serious about being a playoff team, you shouldn't struggle with James Madison. They are a group of 5 team. They've got a worse roster. I don't care what they did to Carolina last year. I don't care what they've done to the ACC. Go in there, take care of business. Like, that's what you should do if you're playing big boy football. And I think that those two factions are going to be kind of butting heads this entire week, which should be a lot of fun on the radio show. Looking forward to it.
So I'm really intrigued in the quarterback Miller Moss. It comes over. He's a Southern Cal guy through and through. Played his high school ball down there. Played at USC. Now has found his way over to Louisville. Hopefully I got that pronunciation correct.
Nailed it.
But with Miller Moss, he throws 2 interceptions last game, and still puts up 223 yards with a touchdown, a very good performance from him, but he does have kind of that turnover issue that we saw at USC. Is that something that you expect Coach Braum to kind of get out of him, or is that something that Louisville fans are going to have to just kind of learn to deal with Miller Moss?
Yeah. First of all, 1 for 2 on the pronunciation. Second time you got
I know. The second time I wasn't thinking about it the second time, which is the issue.
The interception thing, it's funny. Jeff Braum, he's very difficult to get information out of. He does a great job at being the modern coach who uses a lot of words to say nothing. So you kind of have to look at when he goes back to certain things, that's when he's kind of letting you in a little bit. And one of the things that both he and his brother Brian, who's the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach here,
Brian Braum.
Wow. Brian Braum.
I know that is, I forgot about that alliteration. Sorry.
Yeah. We grew up together. He's a villain of the show. We'll take shots at him on this podcast. That's totally fine. He sucks. No, I love Brian, but they both multiple times during fall camp and during the summer talked about, he's got a great grasp of the offense. He makes the right decisions. He's quick and he's accurate. What we've got to work on is when plays break down, when that first read's not there, when he gets flushed out of the pocket, not trying to do too much and making the wrong decision, because they felt like that's where he got in trouble at USC. Now, to be fair, last Saturday, the first interception, it was on him for sure. It was a high throw. They were trying to run a 2-minute drill. It was one of those where he got kind of punished for being close to having a good throw. If it had been a little bit worse, ball sails out of bounds and there's nothing to it. It was just high enough for his receiver to get a hand on it, keep it in play, and it went right to EKU player for a pick 6. And then the last touchdown, or the second interception, was right after that. They were still trying to go 2-minute drill. He threw a really good pass deep down the left sideline, and it was kind of a fluky play in and out of his receiver's hands, got kicked in the air by a defensive player's foot and went right to the other defensive player. So I know it's easy to look at those interceptions and say, ooh, what went wrong? But I think only one of those two you can really lay at his feet. He was really good on Saturday, made the right decisions, made a couple of nice throws downfield, which is what I think the fan base wanted to see from him. The question marks surrounding his ability to make good decisions when things kind of fall apart a little bit, I think that process starts on Friday. James Madison is a significant step up from EKU. I think the defense is good enough to put pressure on him, and we'll see how he handles that. But it was kind of a so far so good type situation. I think if for Louisville fans, they've gone transfer portal quarterback each of the first 2 years with Jeff Braum. Tyler Shuck was really, really good last year. And then Jack Plummer was just kind of, he was okay 2 years ago. I think that most Louisville fans are expecting Moss to be somewhere between those two guys. And if he is, with the running game that Louisville has, I think that people expect that to be good enough for them to go out there and win 8, 9, 10 games this season.
Yeah, the running game's kind of terrifying. Watching the Eastern Kentucky game, the running backs are incredible. The receivers are really fast. It sort of looked like the EKU players were running in mud at times. What can you tell us about the skill group, which seems like it's pretty explosive and maybe one of the best in the ACC, I would assume?
Yeah, I mean, I think Isaac Brown is special. And you saw that early on as a Louisville fan last season. You'd heard about this kid as a true freshman that was going to have to see the field. I don't think anybody expected him to step up and be Louisville's starting running back last season. But early on, you could tell why they were like, we're not even thinking about redshirting this kid. He's got to see the field. And Jeff even said, you see things in practice when they're not going all the way down to the ground in contact drills. And you think you've got something there. You can see the speed, but you can't really tell about his vision and his ability to break tackles until you go out and see him in an actual game. And Brown was unbelievably good last season. Broke every freshman rushing record that there was, broke some Lamar Jackson freshman rushing records, which is crazy. Averaged over 7 yards a carry, which was actually second best on the team because Duke Watson, his backup, averaged 8.9 yards per carry last season. So both those guys, bringing them back in this day and age was of paramount importance for Louisville in the offseason. And to get both those guys back, and then also to get their third string running back, Keywan Brown, who had momentarily transferred to Boise State, to get him back in the fold, I think was very huge. Louisville's running backs, I know I'm jaded here. I think their running back group is as good as anybody in the country. I think Isaac Brown is as good as anybody in the country. And when you see him, he's one of those guys who just pops off the screen. He's explosive. He's strong. He's about as good as we've seen here in a long, long time. The receivers are, I think there are two guys that Louisville fans knew were going to be good. Chris Bell is a specimen. He's the guy that you see him come off the bus, you see him go through warmups, and you're like, this is an NFL guy. Now, he hasn't really put it all together for an entire season just yet. He was good last year, but he was a little bit overshadowed by Ja'Cory Brooks, who was first team All ACC, and now he's playing in the NFL. Him coming back was a big deal for Louisville. They also got Colin Lacey, who I think they thought was going to be their best receiver last year before he broke his collarbone before the start of the season. They got him to come back as a 6-year guy, and he returned a 93-yard punt on Saturday that was sensational. He is. I think they try to get the ball in his hands as much as they possibly can in a variety of ways. The question for Louisville has been kind of who's going to be that third guy, and they had Antonio Meeks is a former walk-on who played well on Saturday. They brought in a couple of other players from the transfer portal, Takari Collins from NC State, Trayshawn Hurry from San Jose State. You saw a little bit of those guys on Saturday, but I think it's still very much a fight to see who can step up and be that third option behind Bell and Lacey in the passing game. And then the tight end position they've got a lot of guys, but they've got a lot of guys that are hurt. And so it's sort of who's going to step up. I think they'll use a variety of tight ends moving forward. And Jeff loves using the tight end in the passing game. He has not gotten that consistent present yet. And I think he's just salivating to try and find a tight end who can really help him out as a pass catcher this season. But overall, the specialty players, I think Louisville fans are very, very comfortable with.
So this game, at least from the JMU fan side, feels like there's going to be some offense in it. JMU scored the first 4 times they touched the ball against, granted, it's Weber State, an FCS opponent, but their offense has guys kind of similar to Louisville, has guys up and down the roster on the offensive side. For Louisville, how's the defense looking? How are the expectations around this defensive group?
I think this is the big question mark with this team. And how you feel about Louisville's win total this season is typically directly related to how you feel about their defense, because the defense, it probably cost them a couple of games last season. They lost 4 games. They were all by 1 score. And 3 of those games were 2 of them were to playoff teams, and one of them was to Miami, who almost made the playoffs. So Louisville fans look back at that SMU, that Notre Dame game, that Miami game, and they say, if we had just had a half decent defense, we win at least 2 of those 3 games. And there was a lot of heat on Jeff, I think, to part ways with defensive coordinator Ron English after last season, because a lot of the issues weren't just talent-based. It was guys being lined up wrong, guys, substitution infractions, bad penalties at bad times, and a lot of busted coverages where there just wasn't anybody on the side of the field of an open receiver. So it's definitely a make or break season for Ron English. He has kind of tried to imply throughout the offseason that they had the wrong players last season. He said, we had guys that just couldn't get our scheme. We had guys that were playing selfish football. We had guys that were, poor communicators. And whether or not there was any sort of truth to that, or whether or not it was just an excuse, I think is the question that Louisville fans are trying to figure out. They went out, they got a couple of, I think, big time additions in the portal. Clev Lubin was their highest rated transfer portal player this past season. Defensive end who put up ridiculous numbers at Coastal Carolina, and he looked phenomenal. You said granted it's Weber State. For us, it's granted it's Eastern Kentucky, but his speed off the line, I think, was jarring to a lot of people. He got to the quarterback twice. In both times, it was like drop back, boom, he's on the ground. People are very excited about him. The linebackers are experienced, and I think that's where their highest ranked recruits have been. Stanquan Clark was a big time recruit for Louisville. TJ Capers is the second highest rated defensive recruit in Louisville football history, and he has not seen the field much. Played a little bit on Saturday. This is his third year in the program. And then I think the secondary is where you're really, really kind of, I don't want to say confused, but three newcomers, one guy coming back that was just kind of okay last season. You lost Quincy Riley, who's looking really good for the New Orleans Saints right now. The secondary drew some high praise for the coaches during the offseason, saying that they think they're going to surprise people. But obviously, you don't see much of a test in that against DKU, who barely threw the ball at all. This will be a big time opportunity for them to go out there and prove that they're not the weak point of this defense and potentially the entire team. That's where I would have my eyes on Friday night is how that secondary performs.
My last question was just out of curiosity. The 2022 game, JMU fans, there's a good chunk of them that are convinced that if Todd Centeio had a healthy shoulder, JMU wins the game even though they lost by 24. Louisville fans, how do they look at that 2022 game? Because for JMU fans, that's sort of one they view as like one that got away, even though it was more so like defensive run fits, I think, that were the issue. But I'm curious how Louisville fans view that game.
I think the few things that people will remember from that game, I mean, I want to say it was a 1-point game at halftime. I know it was really, really close. And, this was the whole, like, this is why I told you we were scared of these guys. Like there were a lot of people, including myself, who was doing that. I think the big thing that people remember is there was a play where Malik Cunningham, the quarterback, then got kind of like ran into they ran him into the wall, and there was a little bit of a scuffle. And then, when you look back at it, like Malik was holding the guy as he's taking him into the wall. And then, that got everybody kind of going. And I think the fan base sort of remembers that as the catalyst to them pulling away and winning convincingly. I'm going to have to go back and look more at that game for this week, but I want to say it ended up being like 31-14 or something along those lines was the final score. And I think that it was definitely I think Louisville fans remember wearing JMU down and kind of seeing it as this is the power conference depth coming to the forefront and them just being better as time went on. But there were definitely some nervous moments. I do remember sharing a meme at halftime of that game, which was my brother in Christ, you scheduled this game meme, which I've got saved for this week. If we need it again on Friday night, I'm not afraid to bust it back out yet again, because I'm not a fan of this game. I don't like that they're playing it. I don't like that they're playing it on short rest either, but what are you going to do? This was a prior administration deal, if I remember correctly, for setting this up. So we can't blame any of the current brass at U of L for this one.
I love it. I have no other questions. Bennett, do you have anything else?
No, I guess, Mike, if you can tell JMU fans where they can follow your work this week, I imagine there's some who will be interested in hearing what you're saying, writing, and all that good stuff.
Sure. Cardchronicle.com is the website. I'm on Twitter at Card Chronicle. If you can go to 1450thebigx.com, that's the website there. We're on 1450 and 96.1 here locally, streaming everywhere. We're on TV this week too, so JMU get a little bit of TV time as we talk more and more about the Dukes as this week goes on. But excited short week. I mean, you got the holiday off on Monday. It feels like we're playing football in just a couple of days, which is a good thing about the setup here, at least for us as media /fans /whatever people.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate Mike for stopping by, chatting with us, giving us the insight that was needed around Louisville football going into this Friday night game. I'm very intrigued to see how Isaac Brown does. Like, that guy scares me and is going to keep me awake at night. Like, he's so good.
Kind of like if they live up to their highest expectations, he's like a sneaky like Heisman. Dark horse.
Oh, I like it. All right, let's wrap up here. Get you set for what else is coming around the wide world of JMU sports. Bennett, take it away.
Are we panicking about men's soccer, Jack?
Talk to me next week.
Okay. 0-3 to start the year, which is
it's not good. I'll tell you that much. Not good.
Women's soccer, there is no panic because they have Jenny Lackey. Jenny Lackey, very good. They're 3-1-2, and they just are coming off a road draw with Penn State, number 9 Penn State.
Massive. That is a big result.
Yeah, we like that. So that's a positive one. Field hockey has gotten its season underway. They beat Villanova 3-2. These were this was part of the Conference Cup. Don't fully know what that is or what that means, but they beat Villanova. They played these in College Park. If I wasn't in Harrisonburg, maybe I would have been at these. And then Stanford, they lost 1-0, but that's a solid start of the year. They have Liberty coming up on Wednesday this week. Some
Love
other
it.
big ones after that, Richmond as well. So field hockey, they're in the MAC. We like that. We like the MAC. You know that. Everybody knows
Yep.
that. So we're looking
And
forward to that.
and volleyball.
Volleyball's
They're
0-3, but I
the
don't
Florida Gulf
know.
Coast Invitational's tough. You lost in straight sets to number 17 Missouri, and then
Sure.
lost 3-1 against Florida Gulf Coast, 3-2 against Florida Gulf Coast, and now you're back in action Friday at the Convocation Center where you're hosting the LD&B Insurance Invitational.
Yeah, it looks like the schedule gets easier moving forward, so they're going to
Yes.
have some chances
Much
to
easier.
win there. And then I think we're about a week out now. So next week we'll talk about golf. They're
Golf.
getting after it here soon in the fall. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I think you hit it all.
Cross country had their first meet, 5th out of 14 teams at the Spider Alumni Open.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. For Bennett Conlin, I'm Jack Fitzpatrick. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Dukes take on Louisville Friday. Fridia on ESPN2. See ya.